We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
The month of May has started off well for the Tribe, and Sunday's win over Toronto may be just the kickstart they've needed. Next up, 3 days in Kansas City. A chance to win back-to-back games for only the second time this season. A chance to win a series opener for the second time this year. And an opportunity to win a series against the high-flying Kansas City Royals. Danny Salazar has been special so far this season, and he tries to win his fourth straight start next on Sports Time Ohio. Last year, Kansas City went from wild card entry to Game 7 of the World Series. But just like the Indians of the mid-'90s, they fell short in the Fall Classic. Last week, they came to Cleveland and took 2 out of 3 from the Tribe. Now the Indians are at Kauffman Stadium looking to return the favor. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. The Indians are playing well. They've won 2 out of 3 in the month of May thanks to a resurgent Indians offense led by their new leadoff hitter, and Mr. Consistent, Michael Brantley.
Well, he's taken to that leadoff spot, and it's a good thing because I think he's going up there now, Matt. He doesn't feel where he has to do too much. He goes up there. His job is to get on base. He's seeing the baseball very well. He's swinging the bat very well. He had a great series against Toronto. And then Michael Brantley is just being Michael Brantley. He's back to hitting with runners on base, with runners in scoring position. The two of these guys have really done a spectacular job in the last 10 games or so. So if they can continue to do that, a few other guys pitch in, we'll see what happens. That offense is going to get better, and they have to score runs.
And one of those guys who might be pitching in is Nick Swisher, who's back. He's in the starting lineup tonight, and he'll be batting 6th. When we come back, Andre Knott will join us to talk about Danny Salazar's new secondary pitch. That's coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, where dating back to a year ago, the Indians have won 4 in a row against the Royals. Matt Underwood, Rick Manning with you here in Kansas City. Danny Salazar will be starting tonight for the Tribe. Salazar has struck out 28 batters in his 3 starts, so essentially averaging more than 9 strikeouts per start, and he's only gone beyond 6 innings once in his 3 starts. Let's go downstairs and bring in Andre Knott. We know he's got a great fastball, but is it the secondary pitch that's now been a difference maker?
It absolutely is, Matt. In his young career, Danny Salazar has mostly been a fastball split change guy. He had a slider, was not working. In his first season in the major leagues, he threw 0 curveballs. In 2014, he threw 3. So far through 2015, through 3 starts, he's thrown 23 curveballs, threw 14 of them last week against this Kansas City Royals team. It's a pitch that's changing who he is, and it's a pitch that's getting batters and keeping them off balance. And it may be the pitch that elevates Danny Salazar from a guy that can barely make the team out of spring training to a top-of-the-rotation type pitcher.
Well, and it's a guy that it makes hitters think that there's something else coming besides the breaking ball. He's proving he can throw not only 1 or 2. That changeup's been very effective, but with his fastball, they have to sit on that pitch. So if he can prove to hitters he can throw that pitch for a strike, they see it a little bit better, they chase it, and that's why he's going to get the strikeouts. You look at the breakdown, the fastball, which he should throw 70% of the time. He throws at 72.5. But the slider curveball he's starting to mix in, and you see that changeup getting up there. He is becoming a complete pitcher. Why he didn't break that out in spring training is beyond me, because here's a guy that pitched his way off the team as opposed to pitching his way on the team. So now he's got it all working, and he's been very impressive.
Better late than never.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Danny Salazar will be on the hill, and Nick Swisher will be back in the Indians starting lineup. He'll be DHing tonight. He's batting 6th, and he is raring to go. We're back to the first pitch coming up next. New look starting lineup presented by Progressive Insurance. Terry Francona has been doing some tinkering. Jason Kipnis still leading off. Now Carlos Santana goes to the 2-hole. Michael Brantley stays 3rd. Ryan Rayburn hitting cleanup. Then Brandon Moss. Nick Swisher will bat 6th. Mike Aviles is 7th. Lonnie Chisenhall 8th. And Roberto Perez will bat 9th. And now here is Jason Kipnis stepping in. We're ready to go in Kansas City. Left-hander Jason Vargas into the line. And tonight's first pitch is inside, ball one. Looks at a ball outside. Kipnis coming off a terrific series against Toronto, in which he went 8 for 17 with a double, 2 home runs, and scored 6 times.
The monster game on Sunday.
He drives one to right field. Orlando is there, and he'll make the catch, one away. Let's go downstairs to Andre Knott. Andre, Terry Francona, I mean, this isn't just a little tinkering. This is a major overhaul for the lineup. What about the reasoning?
It really is. The one word that Terry kept using was balance. He said that he thought about putting Santana in the 2-hole back in spring training because he gets on base more so than anyone else on the team. He said really the reason he can do it is because of Ryan Rayburn and the emergence he's had against left-handers, and he feels like this balances not only the starting lineup but the bench as well, especially with lefties on the mound.
All right, thanks, Andre, and we'll see how this lineup fares tonight against Jason Vargas. Carlos Santana takes a strike.
Well, the ultimate goal here is trying to get base runners on there for Michael Brantley in the middle of the guys that can drive him in. Santana, I mean, he's at fourth here a lot, but he's not what I consider an RBI guy. You know, he gets into those situations and he expands his zone instead of shrinks it. But he has a knack of getting on base.
Sure does. And right now, Ryan Rayburn's been hitting everything in sight, so against left-handed pitching, that makes a lot of sense, putting him in the cleanup spot.
Yes, it does. You know, you break up all those left-handers because you're going to see your share of left-handers. Indians, what are they, 2 and 8 against left-handed starters?
In the dirt, full count. On getting Nick Swisher back, you know, another switch hitting bat who can, again, hopefully give the lineup some balance. You just don't know. It's, as we've seen over the years, it's very difficult when you've missed a lot of time to just jump right back in. But Nick has put in the work at AAA and the minor leagues, and he's ready to go. He feels like he can help this club, and he went to Terry Francona and made his case that say, look, I've done all I can do to get myself ready. I've seen enough live pitching and game action in the minor league level. I think I can help. Terry agreed. Ball 4, Santana.
There you go.
Is aboard with a 1-out walk.
Let's take a look at the Royals defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. In the outfield, it's going to be Gordon left. Dyson gets a start in center because Kane's serving his second game of his suspension. Orlando is in right. Moustakas at third, Colon at short, Infante at second, Hosmer is at first with Perez doing the catching. And then you look at our Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher, Jason Vargas, is 2-1. That last win came against the Indians when he was back in Cleveland. He actually pitched 5 innings, but gave up a 2-run homer to Aviles. Stayed in the game, and they ended up scoring the top half of the inning, and then the bullpen shut down the Indians for 4 straight, so he got the win.
Michael Brantley with a runner at first and 1 out. Talked about Brantley's career numbers against Toronto. He's batting almost 400 against the Blue Jays in his career, but played a lot more games against Kansas City in his career, and he's a .338 lifetime hitter against the Royals. There's a long drive deep down the right field line. If it stays fair, it's gone. It is out of here.
Yep.
Michael Brantley just inside the foul pole. A 2-run homer in the first, and the Indians jump out early. Brantley's second home run of the year. RBIs number 13 and 14.
Well, Michael just hit his first the other day, and he comes right back and has the count in his favor, and he pulls this pitch on the inside part of the plate. It was high. The only question was it going to be fair, and it certainly was. So Brantley gets his second, give him 2 more RBIs, and the Indians are on the board before they even have to take the field. That's a good sign.
Well, it's something that we've talked about so much. You know, when the Indians have been playing from behind because the opposition has been scoring so often in the first inning.
Right.
Nice to see the Tribe jump out early. Ryan Rayburn looking at a no ball 2 strike count. Rayburn batting .400. And almost all his damage has been exclusively against lefties. Rayburn has just 5 at bats so far this year against righties, but he's gone 16 for 35 against lefties. That's a .457 clip. Just missed off the inside corner. Vargas wanted that pitch, didn't get it. And a swing and a miss, strikes him out. 2 down in the first. Our window systems game time temperature tonight in Kansas City, 80 degrees. Light breeze blowing in from right field. We had thunderstorms, lightning last night, but today really a pleasant day here in Kansas City. Brandon Moss takes a strike with the 3-man shift to the right side of the infield for KC. Moss has 18 runs batted in for Cleveland. He's one shy of breaking into the top 10 in the American League. Good off-speed pitch by Vargas, and Moss way out in front of it. 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 down in the first, and the Indians on top 2-0 thanks to the 2-run homer by Michael Brantley. Fastball away.
Well, that shows you he will throw his changeup inside the left-handers as well as trying to go with that fastball, but that fastball was away, and he's not missing by much when he's missing.
And a piece. Moss got a piece of it. It got a piece of Perez, the Royals catcher. Ned Yost, Royals skipper, has his team off to a fast start. 16-9, a half game behind Detroit in the AL Central. Broke his bat, and on the flare it's going to bounce. What a barehanded grab by Infante, and a tremendous scoop by Hosmer, and Moss is retired to end the inning. Wow, he got jammed big time, broke his bat, and they still got him. But Michael Brantley stakes the Indians to the early 2-0 lead. City, the Royals starting lineup under manager Ned Yost, presented by Toyota. Alex Gordon in the top spot, followed by Mike Moustakas, then Kenry Morales, the DH who switch hits, bats third. Eric Hosmer cleanup, then Salvador Perez fifth. Omar Infante hitting sixth. Paulo Orlando seventh. Gerard Dyson eighth, and Christian Colon will hit ninth. Alex Gordon leading off, taking a called strike. Ground ball, that's going to beat the ship. Gordon aboard with a leadoff single for KC.
Let's check out that Tribe defense behind Salazar tonight. In the outfield from left to right, it'll be Rayburn, Brantley, and Moss. On the infield from third to first is Chisenhall, Aviles, Kipnis, and Santana, with Perez doing the catching. Northern Ohio Honda dealer starting pitcher Danny Salazar making his fourth start. First time he's ever faced an opponent in back-to-back starts, coming off the win against the Royals back in Cleveland as well.
Mike Moustakas taking ball one. Moustakas batting .324. Hit hard down the right field line. That might tie it if it's fair, and it is foul. Just hooked in front of the pole.
I was getting ready to say Moustakas had a tremendous series in Cleveland. He hit the ball all over the place. And then he hits a line drive and he turns it, and it's just in front of the pole. Watch the fans on the foul side of the pole. You see him jump up. Guy in a blue shirt, and went right over his head, and it missed by about, I'd say, 3 or 4 feet. That lady sit there, caught it. Look, she's showing it to everybody. Nice catch. She's in foul territory. It's a good thing for Salazar and the Tribe.
Little tapper right back to Salazar. He looked to second, but he'll take the sure out at first.
Smart.
One away.
Just get the out.
Here's the keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. For the Indians' first game of a series, boy, they have not done well. They've won one time, losing 7 out of 8 so far in the first game of a series. And for Danny Salazar, how important is it, Rick, to establish his off-season speed, his secondary pitches early in the count, or early in the game?
Early in the game, it's more important for him to establish his fastball first and locate that, and then you work in the off-speed pitches. Because if he locates his fastball, they're not going to hit it anyway.
See him on the foot.
Yeah, I did, and that's a good thing. But he went down and in, tried to go with that slider. He doesn't have to throw those breaking balls, perfect when you get him first pitch. You want to throw strikes with your off-speed pitches. He just tried to throw that one maybe a little too hard, and he hung on to it, and it gets him on the back foot slider.
And that's going to bring up Eric Hosmer. Hosmer was 5 for 13 against the Indians back in Cleveland. Ball one, not sure.
That might have been a little two-seam fastball, trying to get Hosmer to roll over on it, but I think they called it low. Wasn't sure. Vargas, you remember, peered in on a couple of pitches, thinking that he had it.
Phil Cuzzy calling the balls and strikes tonight. That's low. 2 balls, no strikes.
Well, and he's had some, for the small sampling, pretty good numbers right out of the chute.
Hit well. Deep left field. That's gone. Eric Hosmer puts the Royals on top with a 3-run homer in the bottom of the first. He continues to zero in on everything Danny Salazar throws his way.
Well, and those hitters that have good numbers off you and you fall behind them, they have a way to make you pay. It was just a fastball out over the plate. And I mean, he hit this one a ton because it went out there and hit out near the fountains. And that's going opposite field. So quickly, Kansas City comes back and retakes the lead 3-2 on a 3-run home run by Hosmer. That's his 4th this year.
Salvador Perez takes low ball 1.
Boy, when you look at that hit speed at about 107 miles per hour leaving the bat, that jumped out of here. And now for Salazar, he's given up a home run in every one of his starts. This is start number 4. That's home run number 4.
Well, he's been falling behind consistently here. Broke his bat. Shallow right, going to be a long run, but Moss is there. And there are 2 down. Up comes Omar Infante. And a strike called. Infante batted .318 in the World Series last year. With a 2-run homer in Game 2. The 1-1. Fastball fouled right back to the screen.
You know, but I'd like Danny's not establishing that fastball down. That pitch was fouled off and it was really right down the middle. He throws hard enough. He can. I mean, some hitters don't square up on it, but you certainly don't want to see it middle of the plate. Here comes a changeup.
Struck him out with it, and the inning is over. But it's a game of home run derby here in the first. A 2-run shot by Brantley. The Royals answer with a 3-run homer by Hosmer. Celebrating here in Kansas City. 3-2 Royals lead its second inning. And Nick Swisher back activated and in the starting lineup tonight for the Tribe. The DH leading off here in the second inning, batting out of the 6th spot. And the Swish takes a strike over the outside corner. Over his 10 full seasons in the big leagues, he's averaged almost 24 homers, 77 ribbies a year. Go along with 29 doubles. 1-1 pitch. Down and in. He was saying before the game, for him, it's just nice to be back and have my legs under me. He said a year ago it was miserable trying to basically swing all arms. Couldn't drive off either knee. There's a ground ball rolled toward the second baseman. And Infante throws him out, 1 down. Let's go back to the first inning for the Tribe. Moss on the broken bat. What a nice barehanded grab. And then Hosmer with a pick.
Yeah, Colon, the shortstop, was playing over on the pull side. And that was all barehanded. There's spin on that ball because he was jammed. So that was really a nice play to get him out of that inning.
Here's Mike Aviles. He takes a called strike. 1-1 for Aviles, who's picked up a hit in 4 straight games. And the former Royal looks at a fastball over the outside corner.
Yeah, he hit the 2-run home run off Vargas to tie the game up back in Cleveland.
Well, last year, this is where Aviles was perhaps at his best. He was among the top 15 in the league in batting average with 2 strikes. Cuzzy rings him up. Looked like a delayed call, and maybe that's why Aviles isn't happy. 2 down. Second strikeout for Vargas.
Let's take a look at this pitch on our Nissan pitch tracker. Perez sitting on the inside part of the plate. That's not too bad of a pitch. Remember the pitch before was a big slow curveball. From that angle, it wasn't too far inside as much as he jumped back. Hard to tell if it was a strike, though, but it was close.
Monty Chisenhall. Outside ball 1. You notice Perez goes to one knee, probably because he's such a big guy for a catcher that it's hard for him to get the low target. And so sometimes, even though that's a dangerous move for a catcher to expose your thigh as much as he does when he does that.
He probably, yeah, he is. He's a big guy, and he's hoping that ball. You think about it. You've had knee surgery before, right?
Yep.
You get down. How much is that? How good does that feel when you kneel? This
Not
guy's
real
down
good.
there. Think about how many times, and this guy catches 150 games last year.
Yeah.
You go up and down with the weight that he has. Boy, they got to be in some kind of shape. But you're right. He is a big, big target back there.
Lonnie got a piece of it, and it got a piece of Perez. Ouch, that one hurt him.
Got him underneath. Boy, it doesn't matter how much you're protected. It finds a way to come back. This one goes off the ground, off his glove, and then it sneaks up under the mask where that little overhang is hanging and catches him in the throat.
Didn't hit him square, but it just nicked him.
Right there.
Well, for Yan Gomes, and talking to Yan before the ball game tonight in the Indians clubhouse, the thing for him, the last real big obstacle for him in his comeback attempt is being able to bend those knees, get all the way down in that
getting
crouch,
comfortable.
With the knee injury that he suffered, but he's able to run. He's taking batting practice on the field today.
Well, he's pumped up. He's ready to go. But patience is going to have to be made, and I'm sure they'll make sure he is full and ready to go before he plays. Would they have a 6 to 8 week time?
That was the original timetable. He wants to beat it too.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if he does.
Monty pops it up, and the pitcher Vargas will take the catch, and the Indians go 1-2-3.
With the MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Just download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Bottom of the second inning, and the Royals will feature the bottom third of their order. Paulo Orlando. And a breaking ball into a strike from Salazar.
There you go. See, that's what you want to do. Just throw it for a strike, because hitters are geared for you. If you're going to throw the off-speed pitch, make sure it's for a strike. Doubled up on it.
Hard hit ground ball by Chisenhall. Orlando rounds first, on his way to second, slams on the brakes. Rayburn got off a good throw. And Orlando aboard with a leadoff single, just like the first inning. The Royals get that leadoff man aboard.
Then he throws the fastball. Look where the target is. He missed it by almost 2 feet. Perez was sitting down and away. He wants that fastball. It leaks back to the inside part of the plate. And Orlando was ready for it, and he smoked it past Chisenhall at third base.
Let's get on to Andre. Andre, what do you got on the history here?
The history is that Orlando, in our game back at Progressive Field last week, jumped on a first pitch fastball, stroked it to center field. Michael Bourne caught it. The next time he came up at Progressive Field, Perez called 3 straight curveballs and struck him out. So that's probably why he started that sequence like that. But as Rick said, the fastball was in the wrong place right there.
Well, anytime you pitch against the same team in back-to-back starts, which these two pitchers are doing, you have to make adjustments in some way. And to certain hitters, especially ones that have a pretty good track record against you. It's not an easy thing to do, because if you got the hitters out one way, you can continue to pitch them that way until they make an adjustment. But the key is, do you pitch ahead in the count or behind in the count? And then you have to come in, and it's all about hitting your location.
Colon backs away.
Well, and that's what I'm talking about. Here you go. You've got a speedster on the bases. I mean, in the box now with Dyson, and you got to throw him strikes. He was fake bunting. He might have been taken all the way that time. Now with speed on first base and a guy that can handle a bat at the plate on a 3-1 count, you could start your runner, which Ned Yost likes to do. He likes to play aggressive. I don't think they're going to bunt him this early. They have a lead. Start your runner and let him swing.
He bunts it.
Okay.
Salazar's going to have to hurry. Nobody's there. Kipnis got there just in time to retire the speedy Dyson.
Jason was there. Salazar came close to panicking, but he was there in time. He saw Santana come in. He got out of the way, and Salazar caught it. He thought he was going to have to take it instead of trusting Kipnis would be there. You see where he started to try and beat him to the bag? Kipnis was ready, but they do get him out.
It's just that when he first looked up, Kipnis wasn't there.
Right.
And that's when he panicked initially, but then Jason
He's there.
was there just in the nick of time. Boy, that was close.
Yeah, he was fake bunting all the time, so that goes sacrifice. Be 1-4.
And now Christian Colon, the batter, with Orlando into scoring position. And he goes hacking at the first pitch, and it's fouled back. That might have been a split change from Salazar. Usually his fastball is mid-90s. That one clocked in at 90 miles an hour.
I like his mid-90s four-seamer. He's been
hit
throwing
foul.
this like, I don't know if it's a little two-seam fastball, but what it does, if it doesn't sink and have movement going down, it stays flat and it's staying on the barrel of the bat. It's not moving down. When you have it, I don't see Danny as a two-seam guy.
Right.
I can see him trying to run it in occasionally. He's a four-seam guy. He's a changeup guy.
Right back to him. He looks the runner back, dropped the ball, but he's able to recover in plenty of time. No panic. 2 down. Today's Levin player profile featuring Danny Salazar. First Indian starter to win his first 3 starts since Justin Masterson did it a couple of years ago. And Masterson won his first 4 back in 2011. Actually, won his first 5 that year. So Salazar, who's been off to a very good start since getting the call up. Now he's got Alex Gordon, who singled off of him in the first, but he starts him off with a good changeup. 0-1. Orlando with a couple of steals on the year, and this is a Royals club that will run in certain situations when they feel like they've got an opportunity to swipe a bag. They'll go. Fouled off.
Well, don't worry about him out there. You've got 2 outs. You need to get the hitter here. They're playing a shift over there. Gordon found a way to beat it, and as a matter of fact, went under the glove of Aviles to lead the game off. As Kipnis was playing him deeper in right center. He hit it right between the 2 of them.
The 0-2 is swung out and missed, and Salazar strikes him out to end the inning. We've played 2 in Kansas City. It's the Royals 3 and the Indians 2. Danny Salazar in the Tribe dugout. Roberto Perez, his battery mate, will lead off for the Tribe here in the third. And he takes a fastball for strike one. Hop back out of play. Perez went 3 for 5 against the Royals back in Cleveland with a homer and a couple of runs batted in. The 0-2 is up high. (3-2) Kansas City here in the third. Tribe got a 2-run homer from Michael Brantley in the first, and then in the bottom of the first, Kansas City countered with a 3-run homer off the bat of Eric Hosmer.
Yeah, it was a quick response.
Strikes him out. Third strikeout for Vargas, one away. Today's injury report is brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk and Elk. Alcides Escobar on the 7-day concussion DL after he was hit by a Danny Salazar pitch a week ago. Still missing their great closer Greg Holland,
but they haven't missed a beat.
Well, they sure haven't.
Well, they've done a fine job. When they get him back, boy, it's only going to strengthen that bullpen, which is awfully tough right now.
Jason Kipnis fouls that one off over toward the Royal dugout. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, this postseason and the wins early in the season have certainly transferred to the turnstiles here in Kansas City, hasn't it?
No doubt about it.
They have for that 4-game series, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Tigers, 143,000.
Expecting almost 28,000 or more here tonight for the series opener against the Indians. And the 1-2 from Vargas. Just a little bit outside. And that'll even the count.
Well, I've seen the Indians, their hitters, lay off some pretty good pitches just off the outside edge, even though they are balls.
Strikes him out. Back-to-back Ks for Vargas. He's getting into a groove as he is set down. 7 in a row. If you take another look.
Well, you're going to see a little off-speed pitch there. That's 82 miles an hour, and Vargas, you know, he has an assortment that ties his season high with 4 strikeouts. He struck out 4 Minnesota Twins in 5 2/3 innings, and he's going into the third. And he already has 4 strikeouts here.
And Carlos Santana looks at a strike. Santana walked on in the first inning and then came around on the Brantley homer.
Yeah, you can see he's starting to get into a really good rhythm because he starts you off curveball. He'll change speeds. He's starting to feel pretty good on the mound.
Little bit low. Came with a fastball, but if you're going to miss, that's where you want to miss if you're a pitcher.
It's a great 0-2 pitch. See if the guy's going to swing the bat. Anytime you miss down in the zone like that, that's a good pitch.
Off the end of the bat, right field over near the line. Orlando will make the catch. Indians go in order again. 3-2 Kansas City. as you enjoy a cold one to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Kauffman Stadium here in Kansas City. 3-2 Royals. Bottom half of the third inning, Mike Moustakas, Kendry Morales, and Eric Hosmer due up. Moustakas looks at ball one. Popped up. That's going to get out of play.
These are the guys for the Kansas City Royals, Moustakas, Hosmer, Perez, that they expected to hit maybe a year or two ago. Always had high hopes. But boy, they started late last year and have carried it over this year. And this guy especially has done a great job because he's using more of the field. They play him certainly to pull more so on the infield, but straight away in the outfield because he's proven to the Indians he can go the other way if need be. Remember when we first started playing him, we had Aviles or whoever's playing short way over on the right side of the field. Chisenhall was over there, and he just went about 3 or 4 straight times to left field. He proved that he could use that field and go that way.
Covering both sides of the plate.
Yeah, remember the plate coverage? One ball was down and away, and the next one almost hit him in the stomach, and he fouled off to stay alive.
He's off to the best start of his career. He had .356 in the month of April. But just 3 for his last 18 after a little rough go in the Tigers series. So I'm sure everybody's curious to see if he's able to snap out of it quickly. Down low, full count.
When you look at the direction, look at that, 17 to left field. He has more hits this year, I think, than he had all of last year, maybe in his career, because he was a dead pull hitter and he wasn't going to change, and that's why you hit in the low 200s.
It's that one high in the air. Plenty of hang time, though. Brantley makes the catch in center field. 1 down. Here's the Lowe's never stop improving stat, and Kansas City has 5, count them, 5 hitters in their lineup that are all hitting .310 or better. Now these are guys who have enough at bats to qualify among the league leaders. So I mean, that's very impressive.
Well, Lorenzo Cain missing tonight's game because he's serving his second game of a 2-game suspension. But Morales, a piece they added this year as a free agent. They let Billy Butler go. He signed with Oakland. They bring in the switch hitter, and he's fit in here, and that's a veteran that's taken a lot of pressure off this younger lineup.
That's out of play, and with Lorenzo Cain out of the lineup, Alex Gordon has been asked to move into the with Alcides Escobar out of the lineup.
Right.
He's on the DL. Gordon's been batting in the leadoff spot in his absence. Swing and a miss, 2-2.
Well, this guy has hit third a lot in his career, so it's no stranger there. And of course, Gordon led off here for quite a while, at least last year, and then they moved him around.
Mike Avila is coming into the mound to have a chat with Salazar before this 2-2 pitch to Morales. Went to a curveball but missed inside, and a full count. Payoff pitch. Got a piece of it. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Third K for Salazar. 2 down here in the third.
This will be our Circle K strikeout. He comes back and makes a very good pitch. Has Morales out in front. Looked like a little slider there, tight slider. I mean, because we say it's tough to see, but that had a little break going in. Put it in a great spot. Gets his third strikeout.
Eric Hosmer at the 3-run homer in the first. Spiked a pitch into the dirt. 2-1. We talk about Gordon. I mean, Moustakas and his plate coverage. Hosmer's another guy. He stands way off the plate, but he can get to everything on both sides.
Well, he's got good extension. He's a big guy.
Full count.
But he's not afraid to hit the ball as he did his first time to left center field or left. He stays on it. And he's got very good power to the middle part of the ballpark. And this is the biggest ballpark you can hit in, really, for the most part. Alley to alley. I know Detroit's is 420 to straightaway center field. And it's when you're talking about straightaway, but a lot of ground to cover here in right center to left center. This outfield is as spacious as they get.
And the payoff pitch. Struck him out looking. Salazar with back-to-back Ks gives him 4 on the night. And through 3 it remains the Royals 3 and the Indians 2.
Sugardale Dollar Dog Nights. That'll take place Friday. The Indians will host the Minnesota Twins. Dollar Dogs all game long. Come on, visit Indians.com for the ticket details.
Michael Brantley going to lead off for the Tribe here in the 4th inning. Brantley has the Indians' only hit tonight, and he crushed one down the right field line just inside the pole for a 2-run homer in the first. Takes outside, ball 1. Since that home run, Vargas has set down 8 in a row.
And he's settled into a pretty good rhythm. 4 strikeouts on the night. He's not really a big strikeout pitcher coming in. He only had 9 in his first 3 starts.
Foul right back.
How many times have you seen Michael Brantley swing at a 3-0 pitch? He's locked in. I'll tell you what.
If he likes it, why not get after it?
That's right.
Swinging it.
Because he hasn't missed many this year. There's one he keeps down the line. Gave a little scoop to Santana's head.
Here's the 3-1. And another swing and a foul back. Full count. And another good cut, but he fouls it right back. Almost looking at the barrel of his bat in disbelief.
Well, because everything he's hit lately has gone off it on a line drive. But I'll tell you one thing, Vargas has challenged him. He fell behind 3-0, and Michael has had 3 straight very good cuts.
Another 3-2, and that's in the dirt, ball 4. Indians get their leadoff man aboard, and that snaps a string of 8 straight retired by Vargas. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick. And Michael Brantley, 26 multi-hit games against the Kansas City Royals since 2012. Miguel Cabrera has done it against the Indians.
Well, we've witnessed that.
Dustin Pedroia has done it against the Blue Jays, and Buster Posey has done it to Colorado. Here's Ryan Rayburn, a strikeout victim in the first. Upstairs, ball 1. Ball's hit hard, but to center field where there's a ton of room, and Gerard Dyson making the catch for out number 1. Time for a Mazda game break. Let's send it back to the studios and Al Pulowski. All right, thanks, Al. Brandon Moss watches Vargas lob one over to first. Brantley's a perfect 3 for 3 in stolen base attempts. Ball 1, it's outside. Moss is holding his own against the left-handers, batting .292. He's actually hit a lot better against lefties than right-handed pitching so far. Pop to center. Dyson. Easy play this time. 2 down. And that'll bring up Nick Swisher. Getting activated from the disabled list officially today. Before the game, he was saying it's opening day for me.
Well, yeah, he's right. I mean, he hasn't played in a while, but that doesn't mean that you know, he was down there, played enough to know that he felt good enough. He believed he could handle it up here. Hey, look, it's not easy when you miss spring training and you got to rehab, and he's coming off both knees. having surgery. It's a difficult thing. You know, it may take a while to fit in. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully he can go up there and feel comfortable. But getting your timing is always tough. And getting to know the strike zone. He's been taking a lot of pitches even in his first at bat. And that's getting your eyes used to what you're seeing from the pitcher. You're better off being a little patient more than aggressive when you first come back and you're starting off a little slower.
Grounded up the middle. The shortstop Colon cuts it off, and the inning-ending force at second. We'll head to the bottom half of the fourth inning. 3-2 Royals. (3-2) Kansas City, bottom of the fourth inning coming up. Our T-Mobile game changer is Ryan Rayburn coming into tonight. .457 against lefties, sixth best in the American League. 7 of his 10 ribbies have come with 2 outs.
Oh boy, those are game changers. 2 out RBIs. Gotta love those.
Danny Salazar has retired 6 straight Royals hitters. Eight out of 9 retired since the 3-run homer by Eric Hosmer in the first. Salvador Perez flied to right his first time up. Chopped to third but foul. Perez, who has gained a reputation for being one of the game's free swingers, has either just been able to put good swings on everything that he's been putting in play, because he's hitting for a high average for a guy that, a lot of times we saw a year ago, Rick, you didn't even have to throw him a strike and he would swing at it.
Well, there's times when you get as a hitter and the rest of your team's hitting, it's contagious. How many times you got a piece of that one? This guy, he doesn't have a strike zone. He likes to swing the bat. But a lot of times you can feed off the rest of your teammates. When you go through stretches, they're scoring 45% of their runs when they get to 2 outs. Everything's flowing.
Yeah.
And they trust everybody in the lineup. There's going to be a point in time where this lineup's going to struggle, and he'll go back to swinging and missing and getting so aggressive.
Salazar strikes him out here, and that's 5 Ks now for Danny, 3 in a row. Going back to the third inning.
A nice changeup there by Salazar to retire Perez. He gets geared for that fastball, and you can see he was looking for it. But the location, here it is, knees. And it doesn't get there, so you're automatically going to be out front when you're looking for his 94, 95 mile an hour fastball. That location is great. I wish I could see his fastball down there. Then if he could pitch and throw his fastball down there, then that changeup would be a lot more effective.
Going back to spring training, the one sentiment that Terry Francona echoed quite consistently about Danny Salazar was his ability to command his fastball down in the strike zone. So that was something that they were working on. A lot of times in spring training, when we would see him, his fastball was up,
elevated.
And Terry was saying he's got to be able to consistently get the ball at the knees down in the strike zone, because, you know, as you've told me for almost 10 years now, any big league hitter with any ability at all is going to hit a fastball that's up in the strike zone. Doesn't matter how hard you throw it. If it's up, they're going to hit it.
Well, Danny's is straight too, and that's why he gives up a lot of home runs, because he makes mistakes middle of the plate. You know, and when you start pumping fastballs, I mean, the hitters get geared up for it. I'll tell you, he's come a long way in a short period of time with the changeup and his off-speed pitches, and it's going to be continue to work. He's on a roll. That's 4 straight strikeouts.
Our AT&T UVerse rewind. Let's take a look at Salazar and what he's been doing tonight.
Look at changeup at the knees. He was able to make a pitch, and that was a sacrifice in that situation. Changeup to Gordon, down. Another one that looked like it was a slider. And I'll tell you can see the movement, but I'll tell you, I like where the location is. It's down. It's at the knees. It's on the corner of the plate.
Paulo Orlando base hit his first time up.
I mean,
there's a good fastball we were just talking about.
He's going to be off. That's 97 at the knees. You know, you may have to bend a little more and use your back and really drive it down to get to where you want to get. It's a lot of work, but right there's another good one. The back-to-back solid fastballs, 96 and 97.
And 9 in a row set down by Salazar.
Ohio Honda dealers, by the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough.
And we go now to the 5th inning. 3-2, Kansas City leads it. Mike Aviles to lead off for the Cleveland Indians, and Vargas with a first pitch fastball strike. Jason Vargas has struck out 4 on the night.
Well, he's allowed only 1 hit, and that was the 2-run homer by Brantley in the first, following a walk.
Popped him up.
So they certainly made the most of it.
And Orlando makes the catch 1 away.
Well, the first 10,000 fans will receive a commemorative 1995 pennant. That's courtesy of Northeast Ohio Media Group. That'll take place this Saturday And it celebrates the Tribe's '95 World Series team as the Indians will take on the Twins. Just go to Indians.com for your tickets.
Lonnie Chisenhall. Takes a strike over the outside corner. He hits it high in the air, deep left center. Dyson back circling under it, and the center fielder makes the catch. 2 down. Coming up tonight after Indians Live. Stay tuned when Alan Jensen hosts the Tribe Report presented by Hyundai. They'll take a look back at the last week of action for the Indians, let you know what's happening down on the farm system. Tribe Report follows Indians Live tonight on Sports Time Ohio. 2 away for Roberto Perez. And a foul out of play to the right. Perez looking for his first hit of the year against the left-hander. 0 for 14. The 1-1. He wants it upstairs again. You know, it's way too early to make any assumptions, but there are right-handed hitters historically who don't like facing left-handers or don't have the same kind of success against left-handers that others do. A lot of that has to do with the fact you face so many right-handers, you just get used to the ball going away from you as opposed to the ball cutting in on you. Some guys thrive on it, other guys don't.
Yeah, some right-handers would rather see the ball going away. That's true. But, you know, with that, if that's the case, you either back off the plate or you just take the inside part of the plate and prove he can throw strikes.
Vargas, with his 5th strikeout of the night, retires the Indians in order. Bottom of the 5th inning in Kansas City. It remains 3-2 Royals. All 5 runs in the game were scored in the first. 2-run homer by Michael Brantley in the top half. 3-run homer by Eric Hosmer in the bottom half. Since then, the pitchers have dominated. Danny Salazar has set down 9 straight Royals batters. He has 6 strikeouts on the night. Gerard Dyson out with a Sacrifice bunt attempt his first time up. That's fair. Over the bag, down the right field line. He can fly. He's going to make it to third with no problem.
Well, you knew when that ball went right over the bag that he was not going to stop, because you're right. He can just flat out run. And even though you're an outfielder and you're waiting for that ball to come off the wall to you, by the time he's already on first and almost to second base by the time Rayburn can get to the ball. He didn't even have to slide. He could have walked in standing up, but he goes in head first. That'll be Dyson's first triple of the year. You remember, he didn't have a stolen base the last time we played him in Cleveland. He stole 3 in one game. So he's playing tonight because Kane is serving the second game of his suspension. So a leadoff triple here after Salazar had retired 9 in a row.
Now Christian Colon. And he takes strike 1. Now here's one of those spots where if you're a power pitcher like Danny Salazar, here's an instance where you really need a strikeout. I mean, you take a pop up.
True, but there comes a point in time in the game where you go for a punch out. Now's one time.
Just inside, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Because when you get that first out, then you can always bring the infield in if you choose. Although you're dealing with a guy that can run at third base if that's the scenario, but still.
The 1-1 swung on and missed. Well, that was a good 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and it was down.
And when you get the fastball down in the zone, you'll see it has movement on it.
Wow,
see, that thing's not straight.
Yeah.
That thing went in. He had to backhand that pitch. He may not have hit his location, but it was moving. It was vicious.
Now the 1-2. Hit on the ground to third. Chisenhall holds it and does a terrific job to freeze Dyson at third. 1 away. In-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Michael Brantley's 2-run shot just inside the foul pole down the right field line. But then on the bottom of the first with 2 aboard, Eric Hosmer went oppo for a 3-run shot. And that has been it offensively to this point. Now the Indians will, this is interesting, Rick. They'll bring the infield in except for Jason Kipnis.
Right. This is where you can go for the punch out. You got him last time with a changeup to put him away. Yeah, you bring Kipnis in, you know, you got to give it up going to second, because I'll tell you,
base hit. Gordon gets him home. And the Royals lead is 4-2. RBI number 14 on the year for Alex Gordon, and his second hit of the night.
Yeah, finds the hole between first and second.
Next man up, Mike Moustakas, 0 for 2 tonight. Takes inside, ball 1. And that's out of play to the left.
Nice
Perfect pitch. And he gets ahead 1-2. in the hole. Diving stop by Aviles. Goes to second. They get the force.
It's a beautiful play.
Nice play by Mike Aviles on an all-out diving stop, and then the presence of mind to quickly turn and go to second.
The only play he had was to get one out, and he realized once he's leaving or going away from the bag at second, he has one play only. This will be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. And look how quickly he got the ball to Kipnis, and I mean from his belly. Made a beautiful throw right on the money. Gets the lead runner. Very good play.
Henry Morales takes down low ball one. Boy, that reminds me, Rick, of spring training and how monotonous it can be for the players at times. And early in the morning, while they were playing games, they'd go out early in the morning at 7, 8 in the morning. Mike Sarbaugh would go to that little half field with the infielders, just the middle guys, and Lonnie Chisnall as well. And they would work on ground balls and making the throw to second. From shortstop, from second base, back and forth. Not all out diving stops like that, but that's where your reaction, it just becomes reaction. You don't even think about it. You just know that guy's going to be there. You make the good feed, and they get the out.
That was a very nice play.
And now a rather routine play for Aviles, and that'll end the inning. Royals get a run to tack on to their lead. It's 4-2 Kansas City as we head to the 6th.
Well, grab a couple of friends and catch a game at the new two-story bar with the $13 district ticket. It's presented by Sports Time Ohio, and it's the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Just visit Indians.com.
Well, we go now to inning number 6. And Jason Kipnis to lead it off. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Line drive deep to left. Gordon racing back. Can't get it. It's going to one-hop the fence. And Kipnis is into second base with a leadoff double. Just what the doctor ordered for Cleveland. Jason Kipnis, that's only the Indians' second hit in the ballgame.
Yeah, both of them extra base hits. When you get one over Gordon's head, you really have to hit that ball well. He was on a dead run, and it just gets over his outstretched arm. He's on the run. It gets by him, so Kipnis gets his third double of the year. That's what you needed. Get him back out of the stretch again. He pitched 5 innings against the Indians back in Cleveland.
Well, he had retired 14 out of the last 15 hitters before the double by Kipnis here in the 6th, and we'll see if that gets the Indians offense ignited. Carlos Santana has walked, scored a run, and flied to right. Now the 1-0. Santana taking it's outside. 2 balls, no strikes. Outside 3-0.
There you go. If Santana can get on here, then he can't pitch around Brantley.
Bullpen phone ringing for Kansas City. '80th pitch of the night. And he swings at a 3-0 and chops it into the ground. Moustakas throws him out. Boy, not a good at bat for Santana.
I remember when Kipnis drove a ball over Gordon's head one other time where he came in and hit the fence. That was an inside the Parker where Kipnis is going to run all the way, and that's because Gordon hit that fence awkwardly and almost knocked himself out. He came out and he ended up missing about a week. But not many times you can get a ball over that guy's head.
Well, that's a good sign, though, just to see Jason Kipnis driving the ball with power,
off
with
the left
some
hand.
juice to the opposite field.
Totally agree.
All right, now Michael Brantley steps in. And he pops it up. Foul territory. Moustakas makes the grab. 2 down.
Well, see if Brantley can pick the boys up. I mean, Rayburn can pick them up because he said 7 of his 10 ribbies with 2 outs.
They've come with 2 outs. Well, let's go back to our great clip of the game from Sunday. Remember, Ryan Rayburn came off the bench in a pinch hit roll and smacked it right down the left field line over the bag at third. As the Indians exploded in a huge come from behind win over the Blue Jays. Base hit here would cut the gap to a run.
Well, he hit the ball on the nose the last time up. A line drive to center field. It was caught, but hit it well.
Chops this one to the shortstop, Cologne. And the inning is over. Boy, a leadoff double, and the Indians do not cash in.
Best perks, including savings and access to the Tribe Rewards. And today's Tribe Rewards TV code is BORN. Now visit Indians.com/season tickets for complete details.
Eric Hosmer leads off the bottom of the 6th for the Royals and looks at ball 1 outside. Kansas City leading it 4-2. And Salazar with a strike to even it up. Hosmer had squared around a bunt. Chisenhall is playing off the line with the shift on, and he was back. He's going to try it again. He bunts it foul. It's interesting. Action in both bullpens right now in the 6th inning. Hosmer came into the night 6th in the American League in batting average against right-handed pitchers, hitting .375. Swings and misses and strikes out. He might have overthought that one a little bit. 1 away. 7th strikeout for Danny Salazar.
Well, again, you see a great pitch down in the strike zone from Danny. And, you know, after Hosmer hit that 3-run homer in the first, he's been able to punch him out the last 2 times.
Well, you have to go back to Chuck Finley in 2000. Last time an Indians pitcher struck out 35 in his first 4 starts of the season. And he is humming right along. Perez a strikeout victim in the 4th. Fouled back out of play. And it's quickly 0-2. Almost chased. Now that's a pitch in years past you'd have seen him swinging at. But when you're locked in and you're in a good groove, you tend to maybe not expand the strike zone as much. Smoked foul.
Well, and plus as a hitter, you start to know what pitchers' tendencies are, how they try to get you out. This guy, I'm sure you got to learn as many times as he's behind the plate. He knows how to handle hitters. You would think he would learn how to lay off certain pitches as well.
Now the 2-2. Popped him up. Should be playable. Santana into foul territory. 2 down. Saturday, baseball on Fox Sports 1 returns with a doubleheader of divisional rivalries, beginning with the Royals taking on the Tigers. And then it's the Braves and the Nationals. Coverage at 12:30 Eastern on your home for baseball every Saturday. Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Omar Infante 0 for 2 has struck out twice tonight. In the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike. Cuts in, misses. Boy, Salazar has been mixing very well tonight.
Well, look at all the swings and misses he's been getting. I mean, not only tonight, but in his last few starts, he comes out and he has stuff that's just unhittable.
He had a little bit of command issues, trying to get his fastball located. He had trouble in the first, and that ultimately led to a big 3-run homer by Eric Hosmer. And then, hey, Dyson hits one over the bag. Leadoff triple in the 5th. That led to the only other run of this game for Kansas City.
You know, the thing you like about it, he hasn't walked anybody tonight.
It's a fair ball. Chisenhall, long throw across. Got him. Beautiful play by Lonnie Chisenhall. And the Royals go 1-2-3, and we head to the 7th, 4-2 Kansas City. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T Uverse, has more channels on the go than cable. Back here in Kansas City, where the Royals continue to lead it by a score of 4-2. And after 6 innings, our Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for right-hander Ryan Madson, who takes over after Jason Vargas went 6 innings, allowing 2 runs on 2 hits, walked 2, struck out 5. Madson's 11th appearance of the year, and he's been very good.
Yes, he
for the Royals bullpen.
No doubt about it. He's fanned at least one batter in each of his last 9 outings. And, you know, he had Tommy John surgery back in 2012. Appeared in 1 minor league game in 13. He did not pitch last year. So he's coming back and throwing very well.
Missed inside. And that's low. 3 balls and a strike.
This is what we talk about too when you talk about Holland being out. When the closer comes back and is ready, then Davis moves out of that closer's role back to the setup role, and then you know, Herrera comes back out and he's in that 7th, and it gets awfully tough.
Oh man, he got jammed, broke his bat, and he's out, 1 away. As Nick Swisher comes to the plate, let's go downstairs to Andre Knott. Andre, this is obviously Nick's first game back. Is he in a situation where they can play him every day?
Not just yet. Tito said he'll go to him day by day and ask him how he feels. He doesn't expect him to play day by day, but he did tell him to take some fly balls out in left field and right field. Now, you know, Nick told us he can play anywhere if he's needed, but they're going to try to play him a little bit left and right and DH as we go along, but it will not be an everyday status at this point in time.
Yeah, I was there with Andre when Nick met with the media before the ball game, and he mentioned on 2 separate occasions he just wants to fit in and be a piece of the puzzle, which led to him saying, look, if I need to play left, if I need to play right, if I need to DH, play whatever. He said he told Terry Francona, I'll do whatever you need. The 0-1. Swing and a miss. Nothing in 2 the count. Downstairs. Now, Madsen's a guy that, you know, for Dayton Moore, the Royals general manager, this is one of those deals where, okay, the guy hadn't pitched in a couple of years. You send your scouts out, you take a look at him, or you bring him in, however that process worked. You know, if you can get him to sign on the dotted line, it's kind of a low-risk move with a lot of upside.
Yeah, right. If he's effective. And so far he has been. Now, whether he can maintain that. They have another guy, Medlin, Chris Medlin. You remember him with Atlanta? They're going to send him out now on rehab. He had surgery, but he's signed to a 2-year deal, and they could use him if he ever comes back and when. And it'll be down the road a little bit as a starter or a bullpen guy.
Down goes Swisher. 2 down here in the 7th inning. Time for another Mazda game break. Here's Al. All right, thanks, Al. Now, Tampa Bay's been pitching very well. And they started the night just 2 games back in New York in the AL East, but the East very closely contested, only 4 games separated first and last when the day began. Boston, who got that win over Tampa, was last when the day began because they had lost 4 in a row, but only 4 games out.
Yeah, well, the Yankees are beating Toronto, who's down there too, 6-1 in the 9th.
Now Vilas backs away. 2 balls, 1 strike. And a foul back. Well, I mean, here we are in the 7th inning with 2 outs now. And the bottom line for the Indians is, I mean, it's tough to win a major league game when you only have 2 hits. I mean, they're hanging around. They're in this game. Would have been a whole lot better situation had they taken advantage of the leadoff double by Kipnis in the 6th. Get him over, get him in. This could be a 1-run situation had they been able to do that. But
well, that's been the problem this year. When you don't score,
everything's magnified.
Everything gets magnified.
Yeah.
You've got to almost play perfect baseball to try and get the win. You know, you got to step out. Kansas City only has 5 hits.
Yep.
You know, but they had the 3-run homer the first as opposed to the 2-run homer. I mean, it's been a well-pitched game for the most part.
Up the middle, cut off by the shortstop. Colon throws out Aviles. Indians go 1-2-3. 7th inning stretch brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Danny Salazar going to work here. Just shy of 100 pitches on the night. He'll start the 7th with the bottom third of the order due up for Kansas City. Indians bullpen ready if needed. And his first pitch is ball 1 to Paulo Orlando, who singled in the 2nd and grounded out on the 4th. Orlando really pulled off, and it's 1-1. Lefty Nick Hagedorn, he's been throwing, he's ready.
Well, is he ready for the next guy?
Top of the order, I think. That's my thinking. Is top of the order.
Okay. I'll tell you, Salazar's thrown the ball really well tonight. No walks, 7 strikeouts. He's been down in the zone. He's changed speeds well. This guy is hopefully he can continue this and learn something every start and take it out and get better and better as the season goes on.
Lonnie Chisenhall sets and throws low, and Santana does a nice job to keep the foot on the bag and backhanded scoop one away.
Well, it's just a high hopper out in front of the plate at time. You're right. It was a nice backhanded stop by Santana. They get the leadoff man out.
Up comes Gerard Dyson. Bounced one over the bag at first for a triple his last time up. And that proved to be a huge extra run for Kansas City.
Yes, it did.
Dyson banged that one off of his leg, I think off his foot maybe. Talked about it when Kansas City came to Cleveland. Dyson, he's one of those guys that is easy to root for in that he was a long shot. He was drafted in a round that doesn't even exist in the baseball draft anymore. A long shot, a guy who had great athletic talent but hadn't developed as a baseball player when the Royals took a shot on him. In fact, Rick, when they drafted him, he was batting cleanup on the team that he was playing for, not leadoff where you would expect him.
They had a lot of fast guys on that team if he was hitting forward.
Fouled back.
Well, you say he paid his dues in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
He went down there and never played for a while. He ended
for 2
up
years, he was
game.
a bench guy.
Right.
Think about it with his speed.
Right.
You'd think just by default he's got to be an everyday player, but he wasn't.
Someone had to teach him the baseball skills and the part of the game that was going to, transition. Translate to him to become a major league player.
Yeah. 2-2 inside.
And use your game is going to be your wheels. You got to bunt. You got to do every little thing right to get to the big leagues and utilize your speed.
Big pitch here for Salazar. You don't want this guy on. Swing and a miss, strikes him out.
And makes it.
8 strikeouts tonight for Danny Salazar. 36 now on the year in 4 starts.
Well, he swings and misses, and I just watch the locations and the movement on the pitches. Boy, he's been brilliant, really. One mistake, Hosmer hit a fastball that was out over the plate. And other than that, I'll tell you what, he's been really just about lights out the rest of the night, And that, unfortunately, he hit Morales when he spiked a slider when he's getting a feel to get into the game in that first inning.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Rick. That mistake to Hosmer is compounded by the fact that he bounced one and hit Morales in the foot.
Well, when they say if you're a good starter, when do you get him? Get him early. Before they settle in and they get a feel or a groove, and he's been in a groove.
Unfortunately for the Indians, Vargas got in a groove too after his first inning 2-run homer he allowed to Michael Brantley. He only allowed one more hit the rest of the way.
We've said it before, and I'm gonna say it again. You got to play this game against Kansas City like it's a 6-inning game. And try and have the lead before they can get to that bullpen. And unfortunately, at that time, the Indians could only muster 2 hits, and they're not. It's about not scoring runs. because there's Herrera. He's going to be coming in the 8th, and then you'll see Davis in the 9th if everything remains the same.
The 2-2, Colon lays off. Could be the final pitch of the night right here for Salazar.
Well, let's end it on a good note, Danny.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Danny Salazar averaging 9 strikeouts per start this year. Strikes out his 9th of the game to end the 7th inning. By authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Danny Salazar's night is over. He did a whale of a job once again. 7 innings. He allowed 4 runs, 5 hits, did not walk a batter, struck out 9. But unfortunately on the short end right now, it's 4-2 Kansas City. Going into the 8th inning, and the new pitcher for the Royals is right-hander Kelvin Herrera.
Herrera coming out for the 12th time. No wins, a loss. 1.74 ERA. They all know he's a strikeout pitcher. Opposition hitting just 189. Explosive fastball. He has the good changeup. But when you talk about this bullpen, you know, the KC bullpen leads all major leagues with an ERA of just 1, allowing just 9 earned runs in 80 2/3 innings through the first 25 games. Batting average is about 154. They're very stingy, you know, so to get anything going off this, you got to really, boy, take advantage of everything.
Lonnie Chisenhall lifts one down the right field line. If it's fair, it's gone. It is out of here. Lonnie Chisenhall with his 2nd home run of the year. Almost a carbon copy of the home run that Brantley hit in the 1st inning, and it's a 1-run ball game.
Well, he was not going to spot Herrera anything and jumped on his first pitch, and it's a solo shot. So there's a run that the bullpen just gave up with 1 swing. Check it out on our Wendy's slow motion cam. And boy, he got the barrel of the bat to the ball right here and hit it a long way. His might have went a little farther than Brantley's, but it was right down the line. Watch where it lands. It's way up there.
That swing very reminiscent of the night he had in Texas a year ago. Came off his bat at 105. It was tattooed. The only question was, would it stay fair? And it did.
Well, Herrera gave up his first home run, and now it's a 1-run game.
Michael Bourne pinch hitting for Roberto Perez. A swing and a miss. It's 1-1. That's popped in the air to left field. Alex Gordon makes the catch. 1 away. Coming up on Fox Sports Live later tonight, A-Rod goes for 661. Plus the Warriors and the Wizards try to go up 2-0 in their respective NBA playoff series. And could a Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch already be in the works? I know one guy who paid full boat for that pay-per-view and wouldn't be signing up for the rematch. Catch Fox Sports Live tonight at 11 on Fox Sports 1 and simulcast on Fox Sports Ohio.
You got a bum shoulder, too?
He's got a bum shoulder from going into his pocket to pay for the fight. Jason Kipnis 1 for 3, doubled in the 6th inning. That looms extremely large at the moment because it's a 1-run game. Kipnis doubled. He was at second base to start the inning, and then on a 3-0 pitch, Santana hit a weak ground ball to third. Kipnis couldn't get over. Santana was thrown out.
And after that, it was about 3 or 4 pitches. The inning was over.
It just changed all the momentum. It was like the air went out of the balloon. Kipnis in a good spot here with a 2-1 count. Drive down a run in the 8th. Zips it high, 3-1. Herrera goes to the rosin bag behind the mound, trying to gather himself here. He's given up a home run.
That'll shake you up a little bit on the first pitch.
Now he's 1 pitch away from putting the tying run on base.
That's what you need, a base runner.
Checked his swing and a foul back. I don't think Jason meant to, but I think it was going to be a strike anyway.
Well, when you're facing guys that throw this hard, you've got to get it started a little early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't sit back there and wait. You got to guess it. If you get your fastball, you got to get the barrel of the bat head out like Chisenhall did, and you got to guess.
And the payoff pitch is hit pretty well. Gap shot deep. Tyson on the run gets there to make the catch. On a dead sprint, he pulls it in for out number 2.
Well, good job. Hit the baseball right on the nose. But I'll tell you, they've got some guys that can run it down in this outfield, and Dyson happens to be one of them. He just puts it into cruise control and runs it down into right center field.
Again, Dyson's playing center field because Lorenzo Cain is on the DL. Normally Cain's been playing center and Dyson's been in right
Cain's
field.
Serving the 2nd game of his suspension.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep.
He had a 2-game suspension. He started it yesterday or whenever they played last, Sunday, and it'll be today. He'll be ready to go tomorrow.
I've got Cain and Alcides Escobar completely crisscrossed in my head for some reason.
He's on the concussion list. He'll have to pass one more test before he comes back.
But here's Carlos Santana taking strike with 2 down in the 8th, and the base is empty, and the Indians down a run. One ball, 1 strike. All 3 of Santana's home runs this year have come from this side of the plate. And a low strike.
Pitch had some movement on it too. Check the movement. It was going down and away. I don't know if this is a changeup It might have been a changeup at 90 miles per hour. Most pitchers want a fastball that hard. He's throwing his changeup there. That had great movement on it. Not a pitch you want to swing at if you're Santana.
And that changeup was 89, but out of the strike zone.
Well, he's not giving in. He doesn't want to throw Carlos a fastball, does he? Here we go. Heater away.
And the 2-2. Struck him out at 100 miles an hour. Lonnie Chisenhall gets the Indians within 1 run on a solo homer. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, 4-3 Royals. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. It's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio with Al and Jensen. Nick Hagedorn will come on now for the Tribe after Danny Salazar went 7th. 12th appearance of the year for the left-hander. You got Gordon and Moustakas, both left-handed hitters. Then the switch hitter Kendry Morales due up 3rd. Brett Hayes takes over behind the plate. Two balls, no strikes. Gordon singled to start the game for Kansas City, came around with a 3-run homer by Hosmer. Then he drove in the last run for Kansas City with a base hit in the 5th, scoring Gerard Dyson. 3-0.
Well, this is where Hagedorn, when he comes out throwing, he's got to throw that fastball for strikes, because for me, he hasn't proven he can throw that breaking ball for strikes, ever. So when they get in the count, they're sitting on 1 pitch and 1 pitch only. It's not like he can throw that breaking ball behind in the count for strikes. And that's a big difference, because that eliminates doubt in the hitter's mind.
Looking for 1 pitch.
Yeah, I mean, right now he knows what's coming.
And Hagedorn still able to throw it by him. Payoff pitch. Fastball high, ball 4. Now it's time for the Hyundai in-game box score. Talked about Gordon. Hosmer had the big 3-run homer. And Dyson had the leadoff triple. That's been it, because Danny Salazar, outside of that, was dominant tonight.
Yeah,
9 strikeouts, didn't walk anybody.
He sure was. You know, it goes to show you, though, when you get into a game, one bad pitch can cost you a game, and it could come in the first inning. And that's what it is to this point.
Moustakas jumps on the first pitch, but fouls it out of play. Checked his swing. Did he go?
No.
Feel he did.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, sir. Counts 0-2. Moustakas is now 3 for his last 20. Center field coming hard. Bourne, or rather Brantley, makes the nice catch. And back to first goes Gordon. Well, he got a nice jump on that ball because it wasn't hit hard. Couldn't tell it was off the end of the bat.
Well, everything's in front of you in center field. You can read it better. You can see it off the bat. You can see it. And what it does, it looked like it was a hanging breaking ball is what it was. Might have jammed himself with it, but Michael got a good jump on it. Put it away for out number 1. I mean, I think Brantley loves to play center field, to be honest with you. That's a great place to play because you can see everything right in front of you.
Well, Brantley's one of those guys too, Rick, and we've commented before that when you watch him go after a fly ball, he doesn't have the dash that, say, a Grady Sizemore had when you watched him play center field.
Is it more of a glider?
But he gets there.
Yeah, he does.
He always gets there. I mean, the only time I've seen a ball hit really over his head was a ball that was really smoked. That almost nobody would catch anyway. Morales pops it up right field. Moss. Talk about the hang time. He makes the catch, 2 down. And that will bring up Eric Hosmer. This was back in the first inning. He was in a hitter's count. Looking fastball. He got the fastball.
Yeah, Danny kept it away like he wanted to do, but it was elevated enough. And this guy, I mean, he's got very good power the other way. And he hit it out of the ballpark. He earned it. That was a 3-run homer in the first after the Indians. Then Brantley got on the board with 2. So they came right back and responded quickly. And it held up. They added on in the 5th, and the Indians put one on the board in the 8th. So it's a 4-3 game. There's not a lot of offense today. Home runs.
Funny that would be the story in a park that doesn't yield many.
Right. It does. It's a tough park to hit home runs, and the ones that were crushed today.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Yes, they were.
Tattooed. checked his swing and did not go. 2-0. And 3-0. Brian Shaw is ready in the bullpen. He'll probably be coming on to face Salvador Perez if Hagedorn ends up walking Hosmer. And a strike is called. Kansas City has already played 4 one-run games this year. They're 2-2. The Indians are 0-2 thus far in one-run games. Hammered right field in the corner. Moss has a long run to go get it. Coming around third, Gordon will be waved home. Here's the throw, not inclined. You get a good hitter in a good hitter's count. And many times that is the net result. Hosmer makes it a 5-3 Royals lead.
Well, let's see that fastball middle in. And he turned on it. He was ready for it. He's seen enough of it in that at bat. He just turns on the fastball. They couldn't take him off any other pitch because he fell behind in the count. Well, Gordon with 2 outs, you're off and running all the way. So the leadoff walk, a 2-out triple, and there's another insurance run right there for Kansas City.
Timeout, 5-3 Royals. Highlights during the commercial break. He's had 2 of the biggest hits of the night in the game. He's driven in 4 of the 5 for Kansas City. And Brian Shaw coming into the ball game now with 2 down. And Hosmer at third to face Salvador Perez. 5-3 Kansas City. Popped him up, first pitch. Santana into foul territory near the tarp. Can't make the play. And he flips over the tarp.
Long way to go, and when you get near that tarp in the stands, it's not an easy play. You're looking up. He had to reach out and just missed it.
Who was the guy we just saw the other day? The highlights jumped into seats in left field
from Colorado. Arenado from it was in San Francisco. If that's the catch you're talking about, third baseman running down the line.
It was an outfielder.
Oh, it was Gordon.
It was Alex Gordon. That's
yeah, in Chicago.
Yep.
Yes, he went in there. It was an unbelievable catch.
All out dive into the stands. Oh, 0-2 the count on Perez. Line right at Kipnis, and that'll end the inning. Last chance for the Indians. We'll go to the ninth. 5-3 Kansas City. Earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Michael Brantley started this game with a 2-run homer in the top half of the first inning. Gave the Indians the early lead. It was very short-lived, though, because in the bottom of the first, Eric Hosmer hit a 3-run shot, and Kansas City has not trailed since. They lead it now 5-3. And Wade Davis will try to save it for the Royals. He's a perfect 5 for 5.
Yep, 10 innings, 11 strikeouts.
Brantley, Rayburn, Moss due for Cleveland. All things considered, you got to like that success rate. But you're right, David Murphy to bat for Rayburn. Davis off speed pitch, big slow breaking ball for strike one. Swings and pops it up. Shallow left. Colon, the shortstop, gives way to Gordon. Let's look back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians have lost 7 of 8 series openers. Could be 8 of 9 unless they rally here. Danny Salazar, yeah, he had a little rocky first inning. And ultimately, it was too much for the Indians to overcome tonight. But other than that, he was dynamite.
Davis comes in and drops a little hook on both left-handed hitters for strike 1 in this inning.
Pop back out of play. Four out of 13 for Murphy in his career against Wade Davis. I mean, I tell you, you have to give Kansas City credit for whether it was seeing something or just was either they saw something or, well, let's try this, and if this doesn't work, then we'll move on. But it worked with Hochevar and it's worked with Davis, where they took 2 guys who were starters and were good starters, kind of middle of the road, so-so, but boy, they put him in the bullpen. And I know Hochevar is coming back from Tommy John, but before that, he was really blossoming.
Before he had the surgery, you're right. He stepped into the role because his velocity, you know what it was like? It was like Zach McAllister, who ends up, you start, you throw 92, 93.
Nice play by Colon. 2 down.
Well, that ball hit right on the nose by Murphy. And it's tracked down by Colon.
Colon playing in place of Alcides Escobar.
That was a nice line drive. I'll tell you, not much you could do.
Stay tuned for Indians Live. It's presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, and it's coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Royals are 1 out away from a series opening win. Brandon Moss 0 for 3 on the night. Swing and a miss. Wade Davis takes aim against Brandon Moss. And Moss able to lay off a breaking ball in the dirt. 29,099. And most of them on their feet here at Kauffman Stadium. And that's smoked into right field, a base hit, and the Indians' hope still alive as Moss delivers with a 2-out single.
Yeah, he stayed back nicely and hit that ball. 2-1 count. Well done. Got him a low fastball into the hole between Hosmer and Infante, so it keeps it going. Nick Swisher going to get an opportunity now. Only the 4th hit for the Indians.
Swisher 0 for 3 in his return to the ball club. His first action of the season. He's got a chance to be a difference maker here in the 9th. And a swing and a miss. But Davis has gone to first pitch breaking balls to, I think, every hitter in the inning.
Every left-handed hitter, yeah. Get me over curveball, strike 1. He's not going to show him that fastball. Gets ahead in the count and puts a little bit of doubt in a hitter's mind when you throw that first pitch breaking ball for a strike. You're thinking he could come back and do it again? That's the first time he's doubled up on it. The other 3 times he came back with his fastball.
Swisher the tying run at the plate as Moss takes his lead at first. Time called. Moss could take off for second base here because they're not holding him.
I know it. I'm surprised he's not.
I think he's going to. There he goes.
Please.
Swish takes, it's inside, 2-1. Three-man shift right side of the infield for Kansas City. Outfield more or less straight up, though Orlando plays Swisher a good 100 feet off the line and right. Don't expect him to pull it. Boy, good pitch. Outside corner at the knees, 97 miles an hour.
Yeah, first fastball that he saw on this at bat, and it's paint on the outside edge. Look at that. How can you be afraid to throw that? That's awesome.
Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs in the ninth. Davis strikes out Swisher, and the game is over. And the Indians have lost 8 out of 9 series openers on the year. Royals go to 17-9. Indians fall to 9-16 as Kansas City holds on for the 5-3 victory here tonight. Jason Vargas will get the win. He's 3-1. Danny Salazar the loss, his first of the year. He is now 3-1 on the year. And the save will go to Wade Davis. It's his 6th on the season. The Royals win it 5-3. We're back with some final thoughts from Kansas City right after this.